lived there all my life until I retired, and I have 2 sisters and a brother, and all still alive, and we still get together frequently. Very, very close. My mother and father were very young when they got married, and it was really overwhelming for them to have 4 children during the Depression. There was tough times. In fact, we moved out to the first housing project in the country that Roosevelt did, Techwood Homes, was where we lived. But there were a lot of people that lived there that had money but lost it during the Depression. We didn't have the money to begin with, but it was a nice place to grow up, and I made wonderful friends there that I still have. And I went to junior high school out near Georgia Tech. I went to O'Keefe High School and then Girls High School, which I had to ride the bus to downtown Atlanta and then transfer to a streetcar, which you don't even know about, when the seats, you know, push back when you're on one way, and the girls would roll the hair. My first job was, when I graduated from junior high school, and I was 15, and there was one other girl in the class, and we were the best typists in the class, so they gave us special permission to work at Lockheed. It was Bell Bomber Plant during the war, and it was closing up as Bell Bomber Plant, and they were selling all their assets, so it was called War Assets Administration. So they picked us up at North Avenue in a bus and carried us to Bell Bomber Plant, and we drove inside the plant, typed all day long for the things they were selling. We had to type it onto cards and things, and paid me more money than I'd ever had before. In fact, enough to buy my clothes for the next school year, dental bills, everything. It was a great opportunity for me, but I had to get special permission because you couldn't work at 15 then. And after that, I worked at Davison's downtown at Christmas break and summer break. I worked there, and Davison's, which was Macy's now, and it was there. There were only 2 department stores downtown, Davison's and Rich's, and I worked at Davison's.
I was born in Atlanta, in Emory Hospital, and at 4 o'clock in the morning, as I recall. And we lived on Ewing Place, which is a street that's just 1 block long, and they had hundreds of kids, so a lot of playmates, and we played it mostly in the street, and roller skates. We did a lot of roller skating, and of course when I got to be about 10 years old, I got a bicycle. And I rode that bicycle everywhere. That was my first love, was my bicycle. And I went to grammar school up at People's Street School, and I didn't particularly like that. School was not my thing at that time. And I went to Brown High, and I got a football scholarship to Georgia Tech. And it was awfully nice. It was 3 meals a day, and room and board and all your tuition and everything paid for. It was a wonderful experience. Playing football was fun. We played an undefeated season in '51. We beat Baylor in the Orange Bowl, 17-14. And that's where Pepper got famous, kicked his field goal. It got to a 14-14 tie, and an end named Pete Ferris intercepted one of their passes and ran it down to the 9-yard line, and 3 plays later we couldn't score, and that's when Coach Dodd got Pepper to kick the field goal, which we finished 17-14. And we went back at our 50th anniversary of the bowl game to Miami. We were invited back to the Orange Bowl game, and they did all kinds of stuff for us. One cocktail party after another. And most of the guys, we had 20 some odd of the team members came to the Orange Bowl. After that, they started this 51-52 team get together. They do that every year or two, and of course you attended the 60th here, and a good football game, and then a box and so forth.
Yeah.
Darrell Crawford was telling me that there are only 4 of us still alive on that 51 team. Now the 52 team came next year, and there are a lot more of them alive.
We moved to West End, and I started I was working then. I had a job with U.S. Guarantee Company, and it was a surety bond company. I was a secretary. And I started going to Cascade Methodist Church. And Lawton was going there because they had a baseball team. He was an Episcopalian, but he went there because they had a baseball team, and that's where we met. And he was going with another girl he'd been going with for 5 years. And then we met, and we started going together, and that was it.
I met your mom at the church, and she was teaching Sunday school, I think, at the time. And we started going. Our first date, we went to a movie. I don't remember the name of the movie, but it was downtown Atlanta, at one of the downtown theaters. But we kind of hit it together pretty quick. And
actually, not the first date, remember? I actually had a date. We double dated, and I had a date with someone else, and I didn't like him because I thought he was smart. But then when he called and asked me for a date, I hesitated. I finally decided to go with him, and after we dated, then I liked him a lot. But I didn't really like him to begin with. He was a typical Grant, you know. Right?
I remember one time we went to a movie and didn't have any money. Went and looked in
the telephone
booth trying to find money.
One of the funniest things too, that I was working and he came to pick me up, and he had taken the floorboard out of his old car, and he came to pick me up, and we're riding home, and the road's just going underneath.
That was at work.
Right, to pick me up at work. I lived in the house, you know, there were my 2 sisters, my brother, my mother, and my grandparents. And so when we dated, we came home one night and stopped out in front, and there was this friend of my mother's, a couple who came, and they just stayed forever, and they were still there, and we didn't want to go in. So Lawton just released the brake on the car, and we back and rolled back the hill and sat there and waited till they left. It was not, one night we were sitting in my aunt and uncle lived there also. We had 1 bathroom in the house. Nobody had more than 1 bathroom then. But we were sitting in the living room one night and thought we were, you know, everybody else was in bed asleep, and all of a sudden we heard splash, splash. My uncle was in the bathtub and fell asleep. Woke himself up when he fell down the bathtub, and slid down the bathtub. So that was our kind of courting, you know, not the greatest. And you were a junior when I met you, I think, weren't you? I thought about your 2nd year in Tech. And we couldn't get married. We were ready to get married long before we could, but he was in NROTC, and they couldn't get married till they got their commission. We were going to get married. I started saving my money, and I saved $1,000 and paid for the wedding. And there's Bob's favorite story there is that he thought he married a girl with money, and when I got married, I didn't have any because I spent it all on the wedding. But we had a formal wedding. I wore my cousin's dress, and she wouldn't let me cut it off. She was a little taller than I was. And I stumbled on it going down the aisle, and all the way down, my brother, you know, gave me away, and I'm saying, "Oh, I'm so sorry, because I kept stumbling. But everything went off great, and it was a pretty wedding. Cascade Methodist is where we got married. And my 2 sisters were in the wedding, and my brother gave me away. And it was, everything turned out great there. And I had a little cousin who was a ring bearer, and we had the reception at the West End Women's Club. And the picture in there is funny because everybody had on dark clothes and old-fashioned, funny-looking hats, 60 years ago. And then on our honeymoon, we went 2 different places. Well, first we went to the mountains in North Georgia, didn't we? And then we went to
Islands.
Yeah.
Well, I had one famous day. I graduated from Tech. I was commissioned in the Navy, and I got married the same day. So that was all over and done with. We went in the Navy. We had about 2 weeks at home before we went to Norfolk. And I think I went up and found an apartment, and I was on a tank of it. The home port was Norfolk, Virginia. We operated out of Norfolk. We'd go out Monday, stay at sea all week, and come back in for Friday for a weekend. Of course, you had the duty, you were there for the weekend, so it wasn't really fun that time. Then I got transferred to a seagoing tug, the USS Umpqua, and it was, home port was Charleston, South Carolina. And I ended up being the executive officer and navigator. And we were operated out throughout the Caribbean, laying anti-submarine cable at the various passes that they laid these cables in. And there was a lot of sea duty. The first week I went aboard. I was seasick from Charleston all the way to San Juan, Puerto Rico.
You gone from the huge ship to the little one.
It rolled 25 degrees at anchor. And I guess it was an experience with a lot of traveling. We'd get off a week or 2 for Christmas and come home. After that, I got